What's up, guys? I know it's been a while, and you guys, forgive me, you guys aren't gonna believe this, but for the past few months, so I'm locking the door because laundry's down the hall. But for the past couple months or so, I've actually been working and paying bills and trying to maintain a somewhat stable living. And the harsh reality is I just haven't shared any of the progress I've made on my tanks and aquariums with any of you. And for that, I do sincerely apologize. But as I've said in other videos, life tends to creep up and become a priority as it should be. So, what I'm going to do right now, and hopefully I'm not going to ramble too much, is kind of go over all my tanks or tanks that I think need to be covered and just kind of give you guys an update and maybe kind of share with you some of the changes that have been made over time. And I'm still super invested in the aquarium hobby. I still love it. One thing it absolutely does is when I do come in from work and close the door, lock the chain on life, I can sit here and these aquariums help me kind of escape and get away from it all. So the first aquarium when you come in is my 55-gallon freshwater African cichlid tank. And were these always in here? No. I'll show you where I've moved and rehomed some fish, but this tank, I believe, is I don't know. It made sense when I started. And for those of you who don't know, that I've gotten into African cichlids, South American cichlids. I'm still madly in love with those, but African cichlids, when I got out of saltwater, they just started to appeal to me. I missed the color, I missed the pop of color, I missed the activity. So the best way I could think of to come up with something that resembled that was to dive right into African cichlids. And I am not about to go through each one of these fish and tell you what they are. Take a look. That piece of driftwood in the middle will be with me forever. I've had it for about 3 years now. Filtration, I'm running a canister filter down there that you can't see. 2 internal filters. The water movement on this tank is pretty substantial. You can see that there, which I know African cichlids love. And quite frankly, I've had these fish for months now. I just moved them out of a different tank. We'll visit that old tank here in a second, not to call it old, but there's some new exciting things going on there. I do have, it's kind of cool, 2 lake. These are Malawi cichlids up here, the peacocks. There's a couple in Buna. There's some yellow labs in there. And it's funny, as I point, they move, which is hilarious. Peacocks, OBs, things like that. But there's 2 Burchardi, Lake Tanganyikan cichlids down there in the corner. So most times when I come in, I sit right there because the TV is right here. And I really enjoy this tank. I love feeding it. Anyone who's keeping African cichlids knows, the enjoyment and the activity that you get with this tank. So really, really happy. I may have to dwindle things down as the fish get bigger, but right now, there's hardly any aggression. I think the flow, the feedings, things like that, and just the overall activity really kind of cuts down on the aggression. I don't have any aggressors in here. If I had to pick a boss, that probably Lemon Jake right there would be the boss. There's another larger fellow in here, up there somewhere. That guy right there. But I mean, even those 2 in a smaller tank butted heads, but they get along fine now. So really happy with this tank, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. So we'll walk here. I'll just kind of give you the tour. I'm not going to pause or do any crazy edits to this video. Over here is my 40-gallon breeder, and I know what you're thinking. Has he lost his mind? Are those Frontosa in that tank? And yes, they are. They are. In the coming months, I plan on upgrading this tank. But anyone who's kept Frontosa knows they are slow growers. I lost one. I had 5. The 4 back there are still doing well. I put 2 South American cichlids in there. There's a blue Acara and a rainbow cichlid in there. And then there are 3 polar blue parrot cichlids in there too. So, yes, this tank is overstocked. But, as I have said many, many times before, I have some future plans to upgrade these tanks. Also, at the same time, I drastically over filter my tanks, and I do weekly water changes. So other than maybe just knowing that I am going to have to down the road upgrade these tanks, and that'll cost some money, which means, you know, you'll probably see less of me after this video because I'll be back at work because I have to be able to afford all this kind of stuff. But nonetheless, the fish are doing great. You know, everybody's there's no aggression in this tank. Oh, the 2 polar blues. There's one back over there. They were breeding, so at one point they did kind of segment or segregate the tank a little bit. But other than that, you know, my favorite fish in here are by far the Frontosa. So I'm pretty much, you know, those are going to be the ones long term that I'm going to hang on to. I absolutely adore those fish. I love the way they look, the colors, their behavior. So these are definitely fish that I'm going to do my best to keep long term. So as we walk around here, let's see, where do we go? Let's check out the 65. The 65. Oh, and these guys, yeah, they're not hungry, right? Let's see, what do I have in here? Jack Dempsey, Severums. I love Severums. I picked up when I picked up my first couple Severums, I absolutely fell in love with them. There's a turquoise Severum. There's a gold Severum, red spotted Severum, green Severum. This blue Acara, excuse me, has been with me for 4 years now. Probably the same time as the Jack Dempsey. They're doing phenomenal in this tank. Again, long term, I know I cannot keep all these fish in here. But the goal, one of the, you know, future goals is for me to move out. I'm in an apartment, get a house, or maybe even just kind of maybe start dwindling some of the tanks down and just start buying bigger tanks. You know, these fish full grown, I'm probably going to need at least a 180, something like that. So I know that this is not a long-term fix. However, weekly water changes. I've got 1, 2, 3 filters on this tank. Weekly water changes, like I said. Don't have any problem with nitrates or anything like that, or ammonia. I've been pretty adamant about not having to deal with those issues, just because, you know, on my day off or whatever, I'm normally doing laundry and doing a water change. So absolutely love this tank. I will probably always keep this tank, but I do know that there's some upgrades in the future for these fish if I want to keep them long term. Still have some couple smaller tanks, betta tank in the kitchen, but I'm not really going to cover them. This is a 40-gallon tall right here, which if anyone who's followed me says, wow, this looks pretty familiar. Is that live rock in there? Yes. This was a saltwater tank. This was the last saltwater tank that I had. And I didn't want to do away with the rock. I still may one day convert this into salt water, so my goal is to do what I can to keep everything intact. But this is where the Malawi cichlids were at before I moved them to the 55. And when I moved them to the 55, I had an empty tank, and I said, hey, I want to try something different. So there are 5 smaller fancy goldfish in there. Forgive me if I don't know all the specific names, but I do know there is one Aranda in there. So at this size and this 40-gallon, they should be fine. They even like to hide in the crevices of rocks and stuff like that. One cool thing about, goldfish and comets and kois and shabunkins and all this kind of stuff is, you can pull your heater, so you can save on the electric bill there. They are cold water fish, which is just super different, super unique. But everyone's eating well. Did water changes today. No problem with nitrates or ammonia. So I'm really looking forward to just my experience with the new fish. Goldfish are probably a lot of people's entry into the hobby, but I think just not really understanding the rate at which these fish grow and how big they can get. A lot of people end up in trouble with these fish. So maybe in here, maybe I dwindle it down to 2. So we'll see what happens. And again, I got some time. That's one thing I think I've enjoyed about the hobby is buying fish at smaller size that I know will eventually get big. That kind of forces me to be a little more accountable with maintenance and care. And really, if it's something I do want to keep, like those frontosas and the severums and things like that, I do know that there is a future investment coming. So, but super excited about this goldfish tank. I've had these guys for about 2 or 3 weeks now. So, and they're doing fine. So, head on back to the bedroom. Let me grab something to drink. Hang on. Oh. I talk a lot, so I want to go over here. Shout out to my favorite fish, Jaws. Planet 27-gallon cube. You guys have seen this before. Everybody's doing well. I did a couple weeks ago have to do a blackout because there is a window right here. So I blacked out the tank. I was having some issues with some algae, but I've kind of gotten control over that. But the fish are doing fine. Plants are kind of bouncing back from the blackout, the Anubias. Oh boy, I can't think of the name of it now. The boost that's down here. All that is doing fine. The Anubias are doing fine. The Crips are doing fine. The Crips are bouncing back, as you can see over here and over here. Fish are doing fine. It's got some rainbows in there, some Bosmani rainbows that are finally putting on some size. Turquoise rainbow. Got these 2 African butterfly fish in there. Got a couple rams in there as well. The Sajika cichlid, which was just a rare find for me at my local pet store. I love them because they have that kind of grayish blue. They got a blue eye on them. Beautiful fish. Absolutely beautiful fish. So, as always, oh, and don't forget, I think I'm going to do a video on the pearl. Where's my finger? On the pearl gourami, because I think that is such an underrated fish. I think I might do some sort of species only, which, my videos aren't going to be all that technical to begin with, but such an underrated, beautiful, cheap, affordable, can fit in so many different setups. You can have more than one, but just, I'm going to leave it there. I think I might do a video, some sort of spotlight video on that particular fish. Still running 2 filters. I have a canister filter, internal filter there. Ciche is the brand for both of those. Love those, love those filters. Super easy to clean and maintain. But this one, there's even one of my panda cories down there. bouncing around. But love this tank, I really do. One regret is I probably, I'm thinking maybe one day I want to do like maybe a 60-gallon cube, all planted, something like that. Maybe just a larger version of this. And I think that time will come, down the road. But really love this tank. And then on the other side of my bedroom is oldie but goodie. When I first got into the hobby around Christmas time, I went to PetSmart and they had a sale on this 36-gallon bow front that, quite frankly, I've had in storage for the better part of a year and a half. And I had a 29-gallon there, and I knew I was going to be moving. If you want to call them my sort of pet fish, that green terror over there, I wanted to have, a little more room. I went bare bottom with the tank, the stand and everything. I think I paid $100 for it. If you ever see this sort of ensemble again on sale at PetSmart, absolutely grab it. But he's in there with his friends, some Colombian redfin tetras. He's a little skittish of me because I think it was about 2 weeks ago that I moved him. And so I put some wood in there and some fake plants. But he's doing well. He's doing fine. I don't ever intend on giving that fish up. He's stuck with me just like I'm stuck with him. Gold Psalm, Green Terror, beautiful fish. But I wanted him to essentially have a tank all by himself, with some friends, and he's doing phenomenal in there. So really excited about this setup. Again, if you haven't noticed a theme, all my tanks have more than one, sometimes more than two filters on it. I've got another. Oh boy, I can't think of the name of it. Two filters. I got a hang on the back filter, and I got an internal filter there. I'm trying to stand back here so you can kind of get a look at the fish, and just he's watching me, which is hilarious right now. He's he's wondering what I'm going to do, but there's a good look at the fish right there. Just a beautiful fish. I don't think he'll get much bigger than that, but I can't put him in with any of the other South American cichlids because he'll try and kill him. So I had him in the 55-gallon, pretty much by himself, and I knew I wanted to make some changes. So here's a 36-gallon bow front, which I believe is 13 inches on the sides, and then 16 or 17 inches in the middle. So he's got plenty of room. You guys can see he's not cramped or anything like that. But just one of my favorite fish. And like I said, I'm stuck with him just like he's stuck with me. So just wanted to do this update. I know it's been a while. Appreciate all the support over the years. I do want to do more, but I've just kind of find myself doing what I can to reinvent the wheel and keep things creative for me. And I know I probably need to share those things with you guys. And again, the whole point of this channel was to really kind of target people who were first getting into the hobby, and it's probably been about 5 years for me now. So I've definitely picked up some tricks of the trade over the years, and I still think I have a lot to offer someone who's just getting in the hobby. So please, as always, I look forward to your comments and questions. Leave them down below, and as always, I'll see you guys down the road. Bye.